Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Black and Healthy podcast and YouTube channel. I am Jasmine Gillum and the owner, the host of Black and Healthy. And today we have a special guest with us who I will introduce to you in a moment. If you would like to sponsor the Black and Healthy podcast, make sure you email me at blackandhealthy@gmail.com. Make sure that you subscribe to our podcast, our YouTube channel, connect with us on Facebook and Instagram, and also come to the Black and Healthy website at www.blackandhealthy.com. But without further ado, let's get into the topic for today, and that is what we're leaving behind in 2023. So let's welcome our guest, Terence, and tell the people who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
So my name's Terence Dawkins. I'm from Spartanburg, South Carolina, and I'm a licensed independent social worker, clinical practice, which just means I'm a licensed clinical social worker that provides therapy or can provide therapy in South Carolina. But I'm also licensed in North Carolina. And I am a mental health therapist, a counselor for Fermi University in their counseling center, but I also own my own private practice business entitled Missing Pieces Counseling Services.
Nice. So.
Uh-oh. That long dramatic pause.
So I'm excited about this because with Black and Healthy, we support majority Black owned businesses, right? That comes with a lot of stuff. And we have our own journeys. Like we're humans at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
We have our our regular jobs if we do that, but then we also have our businesses, and that comes with a lot of stuff. Like you just learn a lot of things by like dealing with people, dealing with yourself, being in certain environments. And so first of all, let's get into how you got into what you're doing today.
All right, so how did I get into mental health therapy?
Yeah.
Funny story, actually. It's actually a long story, but I'll give you almost the cliff notes of it, but still giving you enough. Started with pine sol and furniture.
Okay.
So yeah, pine sol and furniture. So when I used to get off the bus, I come home from school and you walk through the door and you smell pine sol.
Yes.
And then if you see the furniture rearranged, a lot of people be like, okay, mom or dad, whoever cleaned up the house, nothing's wrong. But for me, that was, okay, something's wrong. It set off that like alarm system in my brain. Because mom used to always, well, not always, sometimes when she was dealing with something or struggling with something, she'd make sure the house was clean, she'd make sure she cooked and had food, and she would rearrange furniture. I guess that was her coping skill.
Yeah.
But then after that, she would leave. So I associated pine sol and furniture being rearranged to like, oh, something's wrong. Mom's leaving because I can't find her. But what happened was she would leave. I now know this because I asked her. She would leave, go get like a hotel or something like that, or she would leave and do some things throughout the day before she went to work that night because she worked third shift, and then she'd come back the next day. But as a kid, you don't really think about that or register that. You just know mom's gone. Because my mom, she did deal with a lot of anxiety and depression and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I would see her and how she struggled with it. And then leading up to college, I had my own depression and anxiety issues and struggles with that. And trying to learn about myself.
Yeah.
And in the process of learning about myself, I was able to be like, well, I want to help others do the same thing so that they're able to understand what happened to them, understand some of the experiences they had, and understand that it didn't really start with them. And that way they can cope with it better, be able to express it, because, as Black people, we don't really talk about mental health and stuff like that a lot anyway.
Right.
Like before I started, learning a lot about myself, I didn't know a lot of the things I do now because we never talked about it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of Cliff Note version of how I got into where I am now. Pine Sol and furniture.
Wow. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Because a part of like realizing certain things that you need to let go of is being aware of the patterns or
Mm-hmm.
the cycles of things. You pick up on it over time.
Yep.
And they give you like great indicators as to what is to come or something isn't right. And sometimes that can be tricky because for some people, like if you would have gone somewhere else where you possibly would smell pine sol or furniture, like you would naturally go to that
Mm-hmm.
place. But then it could mean something in another place.
Yep.
And I think oftentimes that people can kind of, we can do that. We can take one scenario for something that happened and then place it in all these other places because that's just what we've been familiarized with.
Yep.
Um, so, we've already gotten deep.
You asked.
We dived already. So let's back up then. Like, I think I'm, I think I'm a pretty self-aware person. That's part of what I enjoy about what I do as a person. And when I say what I do, meaning like the black and healthy, just realm of things, I love creating experiences for people.
Yeah.
And it's also an experience for myself because I'm doing something that I love, which is essentially like creating events, creating new experiences, but like positive experiences. Um, in a opportunity to expose people to something they may have never experienced before. So it leaves like a better impression on them to elevate their mind because I love those moments too of like epiphanies where it's like, aha, like, you know what? I never thought about that, but this moment or this experience kind of ignited that
Mm-hmm.
within me. So that in particular is something that's favorite for me. What is a favorite thing for you and what you do?
It's funny you should ask that because recently, I think it was last Tuesday, I did a presentation
Mhm.
for the National Association Social
Mhm.
Worker North Carolina chapter, and it was on intergenerational trauma. And I was a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie because it was about. They told me before I did it. I couldn't see them, but it was like, oh, we have like 5 people who are going to attend this presentation. I was like 500, but I couldn't really see them. It
Right.
was in presenter mode. But then I did an evaluation at the end of it, and from that evaluation, I got feedback, and some of the feedback was saying things like, I didn't expect to come to this presentation, but I'm glad I did. You don't know what you have done for me today.
Yeah.
Or I wish you were around, or I wish I knew you before my
Mm.
father passed so that you can help with his healing and our healing together in our relationship. So things like that to
Yeah.
know, because when I do my presentations, it is about, giving information about the topic, which my signature topic is intergenerational trauma,
Mhm.
which is how trauma is passed down to generations in the family.
Mm.
So I like to talk about that, but in doing that presentation, I put my own story and my own personal experience in it, and people seem to really enjoy that because it makes it more personable.
Mhm.
And so to know that my story, even though I know that other people have, worse stories and experiences than I have,
Mhm.
but my personal story can cause such a great impact that like kind of ignites me to keep on going, keep on sharing, keep on doing that self discovery, making that self awareness so that I can help people make their own self awareness, their own self discovery, and
Mhm.
begin to heal.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you mentioned that too about like generational traumas, right? So what some people don't know, if you've been to Black and Healthy events, I've kind of shared the symbolism of the logo. Like it's not just something I was like, oh, this looks pretty. No, like it actually has a meaning.
Okay.
So the semicircle, it's a little like rugged looking, and that represents your ancestral line of family or even your life path of being a part of that lineage and what comes with that. And it wasn't like a smooth path. For some people, it may have been, but thinking about the sacrifices that your ancestors made in order for you to get to where you are, that kind of what that represents.
Mm-hmm.
But the breaking of that semicircle is representing like you breaking away from certain traumas that may have come up in your life, and
Mm-hmm.
you, as the slogan is, like healing yourself is breaking away from that, creating something better, something different, something new for your lineage to come, if that is for you. If you decide to have a family, but even if you don't decide to have a family, just of who you are and how you show up wherever you are in your community or in your environment, that's what that represents. And then orange, of course, just represents like energy, like positive energy. So
I didn't know that, so you taught me
yeah,
something. I like
yeah.
it. I like that.
So let's get into it because we already got deep. What are you leaving behind in 2023?
That's a very good question. I'll start by saying at the beginning, well, 20. I'll start by saying 2022 was a very rough year for me.
Yeah, let's get into
Um,
it.
I tore my Achilles tendon at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the year and playing basketball, so I had to have surgery from that. Then experiencing that, people take certain things, take it like they don't really appreciate certain things.
Correct.
And I'll say this: being able to put on your own clothes
Yeah.
is something I think a lot of people don't appreciate, because when you're non-weight bearing and you got this big old like wrap on your whole left leg, it's very difficult to try to put on clothes with one foot,
Right. Yeah.
or just being able to take a shower
Yeah.
by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of these things I had to adjust to,
Mm-hmm.
so that was a very difficult, and it was a time. It was a
Yeah.
time.
It's the
And
little things.
yeah, the little small things, right?
Yeah.
And then later on that year, I ride a motorcycle. That's my
Mm-hmm.
self care. That's what I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say October, so around October of last year, coming home, the season was just turned fall,
Mm-hmm.
nighttime, hit a deer, smacked a deer,
Mm.
totaled
In a
that bike.
motorcycle?
Yeah, on my motorcycle, smacked a deer.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Listen,
I can only
I was
imagine.
rolling like a tumbleweed. I am not gonna even lie. Rolling and
Don't say
sliding.
that.
I probably sure I was. I was rolling like a tumbleweed.
I really like a tumbleweed.
Listen, when I was rolling, I said either I'm gonna hit something else or eventually I'm gonna stop rolling. And then while I'm in the process of rolling, at one point I caught a glimpse of my bike, and I was like, "Oh no, not my bike!" As I continued to roll.
Right. Oh my god.
But
It's not funny, but
listen, I can laugh at it now, but the the sounds I was making as I was rolling was just like, like it's
no.
just yeah. But luckily, from that accident, I didn't have too many like injuries. The only thing I had was like some scratches on my arms
Mm.
and a big bruise on my left and a mild concussion. Because of course I was wearing all my protective stuff, so
Mm.
which could have ended badly, but it
Right.
didn't.
Praise
But
God.
that was like right after um, I was able to wear two shoes and be able
Yeah.
to ride my bike. So it was like, oh, I just got over an injury. Now I got another injury. So that was real rough, like physically and mentally.
Yeah.
So 2022 was rough. Then we go into 2023, and I had all these ideas of what I want to do with my business.
Yeah.
Still new in a different career position. So
Mm-hmm.
adjusting to that. But I had a lot of self doubt about, oh, I can't do this because I don't have enough information, or I can't do this because I don't know what I'm doing, or I've never done this before.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole bunch of self doubt. And one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to start doing presentations and workshops and trainings.
Mm-hmm.
That was something I said, I'm going to do that. And so I wrote a lot of things on my whiteboard at home.
Yeah.
So I guess you can call it like a vision board.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like different things I want to do with my business, such as, I wanted to start doing podcasts. Here I am. All right. So I want to do podcasts. I want to do workshops and trainings. Getting a lot of like credentialing for insurances to build insurance. what else? Get my website up and running.
Yeah.
Want to do continuing education credits for other clinicians, and a lot of those things that I actually said I want to do, I've done this year.
Mm.
So, well, what I'm going to leave is self doubt, because I know that I might not, even though I might not have everything I need for some of
Mm-hmm.
the things that I want, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean I can't get there.
Right.
And it's just more of what am I doing to progress to get there. And that was networking with people, asking people questions.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big one. And then also trying to learn more and using what I got now to
Mm-hmm.
start making those steps, and not trying to wait till I have everything and then make that that jump.
Yeah. Uh, the trending word or term for that lately has been imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Syndrome, which a lot of people have, and I can completely relate to that as well. I would say, like, we were just talking about this, like with this podcast, I just dived like head in first. Typically, like I have like an idea, like I plan stuff out to a certain level, because again, like I have a baseline, a foundation of um quality that I do. But again, like as you're saying, like really focusing on like every single thing before you actually make a move, I've learned like you gotta roll and like
Yeah.
trust, because even on that, as you mentioned, like you just like talk to people. If there's something that you want to do, this is what I've learned on the journey like this year.
Hmm.
I've always have seen it, um, but it's different when you're actually like in it and you're getting more acquainted with it a little bit more. Is when you want to do something or there's something on your mind, you will attract certain people or experiences that will add to what it is that you're trying to create.
Yep.
Like you can be thinking about something, and the next thing you know, especially this is how you know that you got the right people in your realm of just your life, is a conversation will just come up with that person. They don't know what you're thinking or whatever. And then they have something that they bring up that you're like, yo, like I was just thinking about that.
Hmm.
And then you are able to have that conversation with that person. Or if you go to an event, there may be a topic that comes up that you don't expect that relates to what you're trying to do,
Yep.
which is a piece of the puzzle that adds to as you're building up.
Yeah.
So like it is a part of like trusting the process in that, because like what essentially is for you, like it's gonna come to you. The things that you want to happen is gonna take time. Like it's not gonna happen just like this all the time. And sometimes it does. But like there are things that are positioning you in a way that's gonna propel you to those things that it is that you do want to have for yourself, I think.
And I think you're absolutely right, because nothing, like all the things that I've done, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
do it by myself. It came from having conversations with other people, or it came from using people in my social circle to, help push me, thrive me, and offering their expertise to help me kind of get to where I'm going. I use family a lot with their different expertise, because
Yeah.
we have my cousin. She's a speech pathologist, and
Nice.
she's a lot better at wording things than I am.
Yeah.
So she helped me with my first proposal for a presentation. I
Hmm.
submitted it, and then that's how I got my first training and presentation experience at the Black Mental Health Symposium in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And then from there, I just kept on going. And something I also noticed was having a simple conversation with people, and then seeing them believe in what my I guess my goal, my story, and
Hmm.
seeing them do that was
Hmm.
like, well, if they can believe in it, why can't I?
Right.
And then that kind of helped me kind of continue going and continue pushing,
Yeah.
and having those difficult conversations with people, even though I might be uncomfortable with it, be like, hey,
Hmm.
this is what I'm trying to do, this is my platform. Doors started to like open up. And so when people ask me like, oh, how did you get this opportunity, it legit was networking, using my social support system, and
Hmm.
stepping out of my own comfort zone to do things that I said I was scared or nervous to do.
Yeah. You heard something. Sorry, y'all. But yeah, I completely agree with you on that. that's conversations like me and one of my good friends that we talk on. It's just like just doing it. And I think with us too, like we're very like intellectual and observant type people. So when we see people doing stuff, we be like, but like I can do that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I truly can do that. And then when you really like when you're truly real with yourself on like what it is that's holding you back, it's always you.
Yep.
Like it really is always you. You can point to this, that, and the third like all day long, but it truly is you. Um, and I think like where it starts is like up here for sure. And then when you start there, the thing about it too is when you want to do better and you say like, "Oh, I'm gonna start doing this," then there's gonna be like people and things that are gonna come to test you to be like, "Do you really want that?"
Yep.
And as a like way to one, it's testing you of like, okay, you said you want this, show me you really want this. And it's also like it can be a distraction and you got to decide like, do I want to engage or not? Do I want to give my energy to that or not? And that's I'm glad that I said that. There's like a little segue into that. So like for me personally, like where do I begin? When it comes to energy, I am very big on like when it comes around black and healthy events in itself. I know for sure that the devil is working day in, day out. He's got a plan. Like he's like, oh, you got a plan? I got a plan.
Yep.
I'm gonna put this person, I'm gonna put this in the way, this. And I'm like, cool. I already know things are gonna come up. Now, in what I can control, it is am I gonna react in a way that's not gonna be beneficial for me? Because the energy that I put into these events is very important. Like you are interacting with people. And when you're interacting with people, that can transfer often. I mean, and actually every day your energy can transfer to people. And so I don't take that lightly when I am interacting with people, especially in that space, a space that I'm creating where people are trusting me with this type of event, especially with the Black community in health. It's about building trust. It's about creating a safe space. It's about being open, and being able to be free. And that's the intention of these events that I have. So, with that being said, if my spirit is not right, and then I'm having this event, there's not really a lot of
Mm-hmm.
alignment there when it comes to that. I exude a lot of energy in my Black and Healthy events, and just in Black and Healthy at that. Like what I put in there when it comes to my marketing and who I'm connecting with, who I'm asking to be a part of the event. Like that's all strategic and also intentional. So when stuff comes up, I'm really like chill. Like I like people are like, "How you feeling?" I'm like, "Hey," I was like, "I'm
I'm alright.
chilling." I was like, "It's gonna be what it's gonna be." Like that is truly what it is because it's like there's no point in me stressing about it. Like it's like for certain things, it's like I wish this could happen, but at the end of the day, like I'm not God. God has a certain idea of how he wanted this to go, and then there's my idea how I think it should go. Obviously, God overrides what it's supposed to be, and I'm not even supposed to know all of what that entails. Like, if you interact with somebody else, right? That was your interaction. I was just supposed to be the person that was just supposed to help create the space. And when I say help create the space, is because it starts with God first.
Mm-hmm.
He just told me what to do, and I said, cool, 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 cool. Y'all do what y'all need to do. And so that is very important to me in doing so. Like if I feel myself like I can get upset, I just be like, it goes back to the basic. You ain't got nothing nice to say, don't
Don't say
say it
no
at all.
now.
And that's exactly what I do. Like when I'm frustrated, I'm just like, I'm sure I'm like, yes, no, just keep it right there. If somebody's like, hey, I can't make it, it's like I can't be mad at that. Because at the end of the day, life happens. And you can't control those things when they happen to people.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something where I've had somebody that was I think they were interviewing for this very high position. And I was like, yo, like that's amazing. Congrats. I hope it goes well. Because who am I to get in the way of what God has for your elevation?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a blessing if you're at the Black and Healthy event, but it's also a blessing that you are elevating to where you want to go in your personal life. I'm just appreciative that you can be a part of my event. But if you can't be a part of my event this moment, I'm like, I'll catch you in the next one.
Exactly.
So that is always like my mindset when it comes to things like that. I also have vision of like knowing how certain people are in those times. Like, you have to be aware of knowing the right people to come to for emotional support, or just like business support, or just like hands-on support. Like, you have to be aware of what those people are good at. Don't focus on like their weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you become observant of it, and you're like, okay, they're not the best at that, but they are really good at this. So in the time that I need somebody for this particular thing, I know exactly who to reach out to for that. I know who to go to for that. And I've learned that as well along that process. That was long, but that was so real. But I will also say, when it comes to energy too, is I'm leaving behind. Um, I've tried to connect with certain people to be a part of Black and Healthy. And when I say like, I'm like, what is gonna take to get you to be a part of this? Like, because for me, it's like the vision is so much bigger than me. It truly is. And I just think about not, oh, this is gonna look good, but it's like this could actually like make a difference in somebody's life. That's my mindset or my approach to it. But then that person on the other side is like, that's just not where they are. Or they're not ready to be a part of the Black and Healthy journey. And it's not that I per se take it personal, because I don't. Like, everybody got their stuff going on. They may not be in a place where they can take that on at the moment, which is a boundary that I have to respect. But sometimes it's just like I get overextending myself to have somebody like come along with me on the journey of what I'm on sometimes. And then that can hurt me to some extent in certain things. Like, even if it's not like a business, it could just be people in my personal life where it's like, I got this great thing going on in my life. I want you to come with me. And then, but they are just not helping me. They are actually, in a sense, tearing me down, or trying to tear me down. Because it's up to me to get them the power to tear me down. But it's like they're attempting to tear me down without realizing it. Or they may not have the intention to do it, or they might have the intention to do it, and they're just, obviously, they're not going to tell me that. But it's like being aware of that and being like, I just gotta let it go, let it be, and not try to bring that with me. Because again, that's a part of like my energy. Like, I think I put a lot of energy into people, and just trying to make certain experiences happen that is just not meant to be, and that's just simply like needing to let go, and that can be tough. Yeah That was so, like, I talked a lot, man.
But you was speaking though.
Okay, thank you.
You weren't just talking, you were speaking. There's a difference between talking and speaking, all right?
Yeah.
So when you speaking, like, cause like when you said, like, I'm taking in everything. That's why I'm looking at you, because I'm like registering everything that you said.
Yeah.
And so what came to my mind was different relationships, whether that's, intimate relationships, friendships, or just, people that like you deal with at work. Yeah. Some people are not meant to elevate to where you're going. Right. Or if they are, they're not meant to elevate at the same time that you're going. So Correct. You do have to kind of like leave them behind. Yeah. And then that's okay. Everybody's not meant to go where you're trying to go. Right. And when I work with people, whether that's talk to my friends or whether that's working with clients, and they're so distraught over this relationship that ended, or they're trying to cope with, well, I want this person to be along this, like you said, journey with me, or the ending of a friendship, trying to get them to understand. Well, number one, where are you trying to go? What are you trying to do? That's really what you got to identify.
Right.
If you don't know where you're going or know what you're trying to do,
yeah,
you're stuck. Right? So you're kind of stuck, and you're going to continue to have those people that kind of tear you down, that's not really serving you or benefiting you.
Yeah.
So if you can truly identify where you're trying to go, and the things that you're trying to do, I then ask them, okay, is this person, this situation, this experience helping you get to that particular moment, particular destination? And they sit down there and they think and reflect and be like, well, right now, no. I said, if they are not, again, right now, if they are not, then is that getting you closer or holding you back from what you're trying to do?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's like, well, it's holding me back. So why are you having such a hard time letting them go?
Right.
So you got to really think about that. If it's not, if I know this is where I want to go, but this person, this experience, this place, or whatever, is not helping me get there,
right,
why am I allowing them to hold me back?
Yeah.
It's not saying that they're a bad person. It's just saying that at that particular time in your life, they're not meant to be there.
Right.
And that's something that I had to realize personally with, personal relationships as far as friendships and also intimate relationships. I understand how it's hard to get over breakups. I can understand how it's hard to let go of friendships that you had for so long.
Yeah.
But you have to, again, realize, well, they probably weren't meant to go with me. They were a part of my journey, but they're not meant to continue with me on my journey.
Correct.
Because I've learned a lot of things from friends that I'm no longer friends with. I've learned a lot of things from relationships that I'm no longer in. They taught me something about myself that helped me along my journey. And yes, it was hurtful, the breakup or the disconnection there.
Yeah.
But again, they were a part of my journey, but they're not my journey. They're not supposed to go on to the next part of my journey.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. It's the letting go part. It's like, I think too, it's like some people, you can have this idea of what you want it to be with, again, like you have this idea of what it can be in any type of relationship or environment that you're in. And then you set yourself up because it's like, first of all, why did you create this in your head?
Oh, God.
And then it's like, it didn't happen. And then you hurt your own feelings, right?
I think it's also, like you said, set yourself up. You have to start recognizing patterns that you're having.
Correct.
Because we all have certain patterns we fall into, whether that's with people, whether that's within our own behaviors.
Yes.
And if you don't recognize those patterns that continue to cause you like a disservice, you're going to continue doing the same pattern.
Right.
So sometimes it's not the people. Sometimes it's not the situation, it's you.
Correct.
And you got to be honest with yourself about it. Like, okay, I did put myself in this situation.
Yes.
Then that goes, like, if I'm looking at it from a mental health standpoint, I put myself in this situation because I'm looking for something.
Right.
I'm looking for like validation. I'm looking for acceptance. I'm looking for love, or I'm looking for, a sense of belonging. You're actually looking for something, and you will put yourself in different situations so that you will get it.
Yeah.
And each time you do, you're actually putting yourself in, sometimes in circumstances that are not benefiting you.
Yeah.
They might benefit you at the beginning, and then you're like, oh my God, I'm getting this thing and I love it, I love it, I love it. But just because something benefited you in the beginning doesn't mean it's going to continue to serve that same purpose moving on. When you see that the relationship is shifting, or you see that the friendship is shifting, or whatever it is causing a shift, you have to look at not what it was, but what it is now.
Right.
Because what it was great.
Yeah.
But what it is showing you how it's presenting to you now. And you have to make your judgment off of that.
Right.
But like you said, sometimes it is hard to let go. We continue these same patterns. And when you finally recognize the patterns that you're actually in, you can start to break those patterns. And that goes into the intergenerational trauma I talk about, recognizing the patterns, being self-aware. You mentioned that earlier. You're a very self-aware person. And it takes a lot of work to become as self-aware as that. Like, I take responsibility for my actions. I take responsibilities for the situations I put myself in. But how am I going to move forward and not put myself in those things before, those situations moving forward?
Right. And two, it's like, in that process, like, it's one, you gotta be real with yourself.
Yep.
But you also gotta give yourself grace.
That's true too.
At the same time, it's like, okay, I did it again. Next time, I need to pay attention to this.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, personally, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm like that, actually stubborn, like with certain type of things that I keep doing at times. But I've truly have been placed like where I am in my life right now. I've truly been placed where it's like when it comes to people, I'm like, I truly don't have time to deal with this, that, and the third.
Mm-hmm.
That's on any level. Like whether it's in the workplace, your family, a romantic relationship, friendships, things like that. I'm truly like, if this is not helping me move towards where I'm trying to go, and that's not even to say like I want transactional relationships. It's truly though, it's like when it comes to emotions, I love like I'm an emotional person, but it's another thing to like disrupt my emotions, especially when I know where I'm trying to go.
Yep.
And that's like a big indicator for me of like, oh, I'm getting anxious, or I'm getting a little more upset than normal, or like those sort of things. But currently in this season and what I'm trying to do in my life and like business things, like I have a whole list of things and I'm like, I want to see these things happen. One, I'm responsible to make this stuff happen. So in doing so, I got to be my best self to make it happen. In that of making it happen, okay, what is it that I can control? And then who's coming around or what is going on around me that's not helping? If it's not helping me, then what are we doing? Like why am I allowing that to get in my way or distract me to get to the goals that I'm trying to do?
Yep.
Like I can be delulu. I'm gonna put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
I have this idea of what I want to happen for Black and Healthy, and it's pretty big. It's pretty big, and I think it's just amazing. And I'm like, it can actually happen because it's up to me to make that happen. Like this is something that's actually in my control. So in order to get there, I have to really like really focus on the steps up until, not overlook certain things. It's like, okay, if you really gonna be serious, like, yeah, I don't have time for that.
You're right.
I really don't. Like I think I'm pretty intentional about making time for things, especially for people that I truly care about, and that's anybody. But when there's something I gotta do and somebody's like, hey, like some with my parents, love y'all. Sometimes like I'm literally getting ready to go do something. And my dad, hey, can you help me with this right quick? 1 minute. I was like, I can't. I can't right now. I'm about to go. Okay, do what you gotta do, whatever. Or we've also set up like the boundary of, or we are growing in that, I should say, because some people are like, your parents, you do what they tell you when they blah 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 blah, and I'm like, can we be realistic?
Yes.
About that, because that don't work for me.
Not anymore.
It don't work for me. When I got something I have to do, especially when it's for my legacy and for my life, I'm gonna make time for my parents, but sometimes it's like I would prefer you to ask me, am I available at this time to do something? Sometimes with parents, like they see you as like their baby. You know what I mean? Like I'm the baby in my family. So they always see you as a little child or whatever. And they're like, you ain't got no schedule. Like, you're my child.
Look at my calendar.
And it's like, wait. I actually do have stuff I got to do that I need to do. Like, I'm actually trying to grow stuff. I'm serious about it. And I'm trying to make this happen. So it's just like being understanding of where I'm trying to go and supporting that. And of course, with my parents, love you guys so much. Appreciate y'all for all that you do for me. Like, they're actually very supportive of me. And, they see, like, oh, she's taking this kind of serious. She's been doing this for a little while now. All right, we're going to leave her alone. So I really appreciate that about the people that really, like, respect what I'm doing and also like are supporting me in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
When it comes to that. But for you other people and other places and things,
you gotta go.
You gotta go. You got to go. Because I also have this internal thing about me. Yo, when there's something where I don't want to be, or people I don't want to fool with no more, it's something inside me has an internal clock where it's like countdown, deadline. You gotta be done with this by this time. And it always tends to be before the end of the year. I'm one of those. I'm not going into the new year with this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm truly not. And I just somehow I figure I manifest something comes up where it puts it out there to where I get away from that. Because I'm not one of those people that stay around for like years.
Yeah.
I can't. It's just not built in me to do that. If I'm dealing with a dude, haha, baby, I'ma tell you, you got a deadline, and I'm not playing, and they don't believe me. And then when it's time to be done, oh, she was serious. Yes, I actually was. When it comes to jobs, like I've literally been in an office, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be here much longer. I don't know how, God. I don't know what you need to do, what you got to do, but I got to go.
It's about that time.
It's about that time. It's about that time. And you put that out there. You put them fillers out there. I do. Somehow, some way, it just shows up in me that I don't want to be there no more.
Yeah, I can respect that, and I feel that completely.
Yeah,
when it's time to go.
When it's time to go, baby, it's time to go. Cause I got life to live. Like I'm like God placed me here for a reason, baby. So it's tough to let you go, but it's like I got something greater that I have to do.
Yep.
And not just getting tied up in all that type of stuff. So that stuff that's me. That's built in me.
Listen, when you start letting stuff go, you'll see how much you like grow quicker and faster because you're not having that weight hold you down. And I realized that I was like, oh, earlier, like when I was in previous relationships, like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, why isn't this happening yet?
Yeah.
And then once that ended, doors started opening up. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It's because you.
Yeah.
So
that's so true.
Yeah. So when you start letting things go, you start to see different doors opening up.
Yeah. I would say like for some people that have a harder time, like family. Like people are like, it's your family, you can't let them go. There are some people that will cut you off. Then there's some people it's like, I have to work around this. I have to work with that. So what's something that how would you encourage people to navigate, even if it's not family, even if it's like in a workspace of just dealing with certain people, like they like their job, right? Or they like their career, but it's just certain people that they are dealing with. So how would you encourage people to, I don't know, like I think sometimes it's a matter of not taking things personal with certain things. I also think it's a matter of communicating what you like and what you don't like, and how you would like to be treated or respected, or communicated with. I think that's important. Do you have anything that you would encourage for people when it comes to that?
I think, like you said it best when you just said it just now, was the honesty about communication. I think that part of it plays a big role because when you're not able to communicate your true intentions or communicate your true feelings, you're left with those feelings and those intentions to yourself. And then that starts to, cause anxiety. That starts to cause that, that guilt or that blame on yourself. And so being able to, and that's something that I've actually started doing now, is being more intentional about me communicating how I feel, communicating, this is bothering me because of this reason. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, as far as like people don't receive it the way that I would like them to.
Yeah.
But that's fine. It's a weight that's lifted off me that I don't have to carry anymore.
Correct.
And so instead of me being in a situation, being in a relationship that I know is, like you said, harming me or causing me damage or holding me back, instead of me continuously being in that, I can communicate like, look, this is what's not working for me. If this was to work or it could work, this is the things I need to see change. And if you don't see those things change to help benefit you or to help benefit that relationship, then it's time to kind of distance yourself and let that go a little bit.
Yeah.
But it all starts with being able to communicate, really being self-aware about what's going on, why is it bothering you, where is this coming from, to communicate it to that person, not from an attacking standpoint.
Yeah.
So a lot of the ways that I tell people to communicate, I don't like to use the word you. So if I was to sit here and say, you did this,
yep,
and this is why I'm mad, you would get defensive because you feel like I'm attacking you about something that you did.
right.
So instead of using you, I use I and. So I feel upset because during this experience, I felt disrespected.
Yeah.
And then also I take away the word but. Because if you say but, you kind of negate everything you said before.
Yes.
So be like, oh, okay, I understand that you was upset by this, but then, I start saying something else. So I can say, I understand that you was upset about that. And I also get this.
Yes.
Or I feel, I understand you was upset by that. And I also feel, because I can feel the same, I can feel that way and you can feel that way. So instead of negating it, I'm kind of, validating you.
Yeah.
And then also sharing how I feel. Yeah. So again, I take away but and I put and when I'm doing communication, instead of I use instead of you, I use I instead of that. That kind of helps the communication. Doesn't really allow it to be defensive, and you don't really cause it kind of can reduce that argument. It's more of effective communication skills.
I'm glad you brought this up. I had a big problem with that, and I'm still working on that. As you're talking about, like saying you, right? I can do that sometimes.
Yeah.
And I remember, like in therapy, what I learned, kind of similar to what you just said, was saying, I feel that when you do this, it makes me feel as though this. And I'm like, how does that? And people receive that so much better. And I'm still like trying to figure out why that is, which again, as you're saying, is not a blatant like you did this, and they just automatically become defensive. But I do that, but sometimes I'm like, no, like it's you.
It's you. It
It's
ain't
you.
me. It's not me at all.
Because I can tell you where I was wrong. I've already held myself accountable for what I said, what I did. I heard what you said. And though I may not disagree with it, your feelings are valid in this, and what you feel about it and what you think about it, we can agree to disagree on this. However, it's you. Or if they be like, yeah, it's me, I'd be like, I know, it is.
And you're gonna have those moments. I'm not gonna. You're gonna have those moments.
Yeah.
But just in a general sense, I think everyone needs to work on how they communicate with people.
Correct.
And the way they deliver things, because you can have good intentions, but the way you deliver it has a great impact on how people interpret it.
Yes.
You can give them the best advice in the world, but if your delivery is off, they're not going to interpret it the same, and they're not going to be receptive of it.
That's a tough
one. Yeah, it really is.
It really is, because, like, I feel like I think I'm pretty chill when talking. Like, I'm someone that's open to talk about things. I think I'm also, this is good to get into. I think I'm able to process and really understand how I'm feeling, which I got this pillow that he has, you guys, which I think is cool, because I've run into people that, like, they just simply don't know how to communicate what they are feeling. I've run into that many times, and I think this is cool because, like, what you call this? You said the mood wheel?
The emotional wheel.
Emotional wheel. This is pretty cool. Where you get this from?
Amazon.
Y'all, shout out to Amazon. Get this on Amazon for people that don't know how to express their feelings or emotions. But I think this is pretty cool where like you can look at this and you can kind of like, as you were telling me, you can point to what you're feeling. I'm somebody that's like, if somebody's like, I'm frustrated. And I'll be like, okay, why are you frustrated? Like, what's frustrating you? What exactly is it? What is it? And it's like, if you're able to tell me that, then I'm like, I'm genuinely trying to understand your perspective and where you're coming from. And I also think it's important too, like, it's so easy to make assumptions. Like you saying, like, your intention can be good, but your delivery is not it.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I think it's important to validate and meet somebody like halfway, especially if they're not able to express what they're feeling. And so it's like, if you can give me something, I'm like, okay, why is this happening?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I can look at myself and be like, okay, could I say this better? Or is this truly like a you problem? Like, is this a personal problem that you have to like really get in yourself and like really assess and deal with that? Because it's like, I'm not gonna take on your personal stuff you
No.
got going on.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna be here. I'm here to talk through it. I'm not your therapist though. I'm not your therapist. But that's a part of like being human with people and developing friendships and or relationships is understanding the person, like what they've been through, what they're going through, but then like how you guys can have a relationship if it's meant to be any sort of relationship there. But we both got to be on a cord, one accord, to where we can do that. If it's just one sided, where it's like I'm always telling you, hey, this how I'm feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not.
Let's
I
see.
don't like that. We can't do. That's not going to work. It
Yeah,
doesn't work that way.
it doesn't. I think both people have to be, for number one, like I said, communicate very well or be working on their communication.
Yeah.
You know, even if, because a lot of times, again, we don't know some of the words to express how we feel,
Correct.
or we don't even know what we're feeling.
Yeah.
So as long as you're in the process of working on that,
Yeah.
and actually trying to communicate better, trying to understand your own feelings and
Yeah.
what's causing you to feel this way,
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to be helpful in relationships, whether that's friendships, workplace, or intimate relationships.
Yeah.
But you have to start somewhere and have that self-awareness again.
Yeah.
Be honest with yourself and be like, okay, I want to learn how to communicate. I want to learn how to identify my emotions.
Yeah.
I want to learn about what's causing me to feel these different emotions when this certain experience happens.
Yeah.
And then once you start to work on that, then you'll start to see, okay, I'm growing as a person, and I'm growing within my different relationships in my life.
Yeah. Two things on that too. So as you said, somebody says, I want to do this. I think it's very for some people it can be very vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to be transparent and open to admit I need help with this.
Yeah.
And I think though you have to take a chance on doing that because you shorthand yourself by not allowing yourself to be blessed with somebody that is willing to actually like help you and like be patient with you in that. You have to allow yourself to open up yourself to the possibilities. And if it don't happen, if that's not the person, then it's like you did the work for yourself to take a leap or a step forward into who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Again, leaving that person behind, but you at least took a step for yourself to improve something. I also enjoy like looking up actually like the meaning of a word. To like really like be specific on how I'm feeling about something. I think like that's a learning experience for me that I enjoy. And then going back to when somebody says that they want to do something, let me tell you something.
Uh-oh.
One thing I cannot stand. I don't remember what test it is, but there's like a test where like you have like the five love languages, And then it's like the angry test, like, or how you like when you are in confrontation with somebody, how you want it to be handled in the situation. So you have some of those people that's like, I want to do these things, like I want to do that, or I feel so sorry, and then that's cool for people. But for me, it's like, don't tell me you want to do it, but you're not doing it.
I know you're gonna say that.
I can't stand it. Like, not saying you have to know exactly what to do, but I do think you have to take the steps. It's like, to me, it's like, don't say you want to do something, but you're not ready to do it. If you're not ready to do it, say you're not ready to do it.
And that goes with being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
About it. Like
Yeah.
you said, being honest with yourself, and then also saying I want to do it because you're really curious about these things, and then to follow through with it afterwards. So that's where it all started with me. Is I became curious about why my mom had her experiences, why she handled it the ways that she did.
Yeah.
Why did I have my experiences? Why did I handle it the way I did? And I learned and found that me being curious about myself offered a lot of like self growth and self awareness.
Yeah.
And I believe like if I can offer that same type of curiosity to other people,
Yeah.
and they do that self discovery, that their life will change too.
Yeah. Very true. I like that process as well. When getting to know people, to an extent, but that's tough because you have to be open to it, and there are people that are not. Nope. And then that's when you have to like decide, like, what, keep it to a certain level with this person until, I guess, they show that they're ready for that. I don't know, but that's tough because how they don't know they're ready for it. Yep. They don't know they're ready for it until, I guess, I don't know. I don't like ambiguity either. So it's got to be clear, like, this is what I want to do. But I understand, like, there can be a gap or a barrier for somebody that just has no idea on, because they've never seen it. They've never experienced it.
Exactly. It's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
It really is a lot. And that's what, again, what I start to present about is that part of it. I've never seen it, never experienced it. And if I've never seen it, never experienced it, then I'm going to continue to pass down what I've done over and over. And that's how it goes through generations. So really trying to break that generational cycle by creating this awareness and creating this education about it is surrounded around the topic is pretty much my goal and mission, because I see how it was it impacted me. And that's kind of, like I said, the foundation of my presentations and workshops and stuff.
Yeah. So how do you encourage people? Where do you encourage people? Now we've had this conversation, I know certain people's thoughts have been stimulated a little bit more. So where would you encourage people to start? One, I said the first one was like, working with people that you're around, but actually observing like your current circumstances, like where you are, and actually letting things that don't serve you. Where do you encourage people to start?
Well, if I had to say, like, to start, it would be to start with yourself. So really looking at what are some of these things that I want to change? What are some of these things that I don't like? And trying to see if there's, again, any patterns that you're noticing within yourself. I've been in this situation before, or I always do this, and even we like to put blame on other people. I will point that out. Sometimes we put blame on other people. So if you find yourself using language like, they always do this, or you make me do X when you always do Z. Instead of using that language, really take a step back to really look at that, do some self-reflection, create that self-awareness about, hey, is there something that I'm struggling with internally that causes me to react or show up in a specific way? So the first place that I would say start is within yourself, looking at patterns, looking at where these patterns may have started from or been created from. And then after you do that, it's more of like, well, how can I change these patterns? Do you need to change the people? Do you need to take a moment when you're in a specific moment or experience or situation to have another self-reflection moment in that specific moment you're having it, and moving forward from there? It is a lot of work. It does take a lot of self-awareness. It takes a lot of practice. But the more that you do it, the more, and this is scientifically proven, the more that you do this type of work, the more that your brain is able to become more flexible and it'll start doing it automatically. But you have to start somewhere, because right now we're already running on autopilot off of things that we've already learned. And sometimes we have to unlearn things and then relearn them a different way in order for our brains to learn different and make different connections and learn different experiences.
Absolutely. Like, you literally took that out of my brain. I literally was saying that, and then you said it.
Yeah.
Connection. Oh, what were you gonna say?
I know a little something. I know a lot.
Oh yeah, you know a little something. That's so too. I want to add this, if you don't mind. Is we can perceive things a certain way. It doesn't mean it's actually true.
Exactly.
So, can you touch on to that of somebody, like someone being more aware of a perception of something, but then also being able to assess that, you know what, that may not actually be the case. Like, I actually may be taking a certain experience from somewhere else, which you're saying, like you said in the beginning, of like assessing this pattern, like where it began in the first place. But then like really trying to be like, there actually may be more to this than I'm realizing. It may not actually be what I'm thinking that it is.
Yeah.
How would you?
No one, like, if it's in a specific situation and I'm perceiving something, like if we're having a conversation, I perceive something that you say that I might think is wrong, or I might think has a great impact on me.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of making an assumption,
Yeah,
I ask questions. I'm sorry, I ask questions.
same.
I need to know. So you might get tired of these questions, but I'm going to either figure out if what my mind automatically went to, if that's correct, or if I'm tripping.
Yes.
Now, if I'm tripping, okay, bet I can admit that. All right, you're right. I'm fine. You know, I thought this. Apparently, it's not that.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah.
So I ask questions. So
yeah.
That's people like, you ask too many questions. Well, how am I supposed to know something if I don't ask the questions about it?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. Or I hated this. One person told me, "Oh, you ask too many questions." I'm like, conversations start from questions.
Exactly.
So what you want me to do? Go around and say a whole bunch of statements?
Exactly.
That'll make
or
sense.
not say nothing.
Exactly. So come on now. But anyways, so yeah, I ask questions. I really do. I ask questions to get clarification on things I don't understand, or clarification on things that I might have perceived and to be disrespectful or perceived to be like an attack on me. I need to ask questions to try to get clarification. But then I also, again, I use my social support system too. So if it's not in a situation, I'm like reflecting on it, like outside of it, like I'm not in front of you, then I'll use people that I trust, people that I feel safe around,
Yeah.
and the people that create a space for me to do so.
Yeah.
I'll talk through it with them.
Yeah.
Because they then can give me an unbiased opinion.
Yes.
And I will preface it with them. I need you to tell me straight up if I'm tripping or not. And then I start to tell them what's exactly going on. And I have a few people that are able to communicate that with me. Like, well, did you look at it from this perspective? No, I didn't. All right, so now they give me something else to think about instead of me being biased in my own. So I ask questions and I use my support system to try to get another perspective on it instead of me just taking my own perspective and just running with it.
Yeah. And I'll add to that too. Sometimes in your support system, they may say something that will make you be like, no, that's not it. And it helps you to reinforce a thought as well.
Yeah.
Like that also allows you to assess, like, no, I'm not okay with that actually. Like, that's what you think? No, I'm actually not okay with that. I don't rock with that. Like, I had someone be like, just go with the flow. And I'm like, no, I'm not going with the flow. Actually, and it's not even a matter of being stubborn. I think in some cases you gotta let it ride, but there are also in other cases where you're like, considering where it is I'm trying to go and what has taken place up until this point, it's not productive to go with the flow.
Yep.
That's not aligning with that. And so sometimes you know it, but when you say it out loud too, that's a good thing to do. When you say something out loud, you be like, dang, that don't even sound right.
That ain't right.
That ain't right. That don't feel good. It don't sound right. It ain't working right. So that's when you did make a decision. I would also say writing it down on paper.
Yep.
Because sometimes when you can look at it on paper, you're like, oh dang.
That's messed up.
Yeah, that's messed up.
That's messed up.
If somebody was reading this, again, a non-biased perspective, and they saw that, they'd be like, yeah,
that ain't right.
That ain't right. So I hope that's helpful for our listeners and people that are watching. Do you have anything else that you would like to share with the people? A last tip or last few words?
Last few words of wisdom. A lot of times, anytime at the end of when I speak, I always like to tell people and remind them that no matter what you're going through, you have to remember it didn't start with you. And what I mean by that is the different emotions that you're experiencing, the difficulties that you're having, it didn't start with you. So you shouldn't have that self-blame or guilt. Well, I wouldn't say shouldn't have it. It was more of because you can't really control whether you have it or not, but it should give you that grace, or it should help you kind of cope with it better, because there's a reason that you feel this way. And when you start doing that self-discovery stuff, that self-exploration to see what are some of the things that contributed to how I'm feeling, that could be relationships with parents, caregivers, that could be, these different things that we feel like we never received as children, such as love, safety, trust. We might have felt abandoned. These things had a great impact on who you are today. And just because your parents might have experienced those things and pass those on to you doesn't mean you have to pass it on to the next generation, whether that's your children or whether that's your family members, as far as like nieces or nephews or things like that.
Yeah.
You can break the cycle. So it didn't start with you, and you can break the cycle.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, thank you again, Terence, for being on the podcast and the YouTube channel today, our show. Make sure, again, you guys connect with Terence out here. Tell them how they can find you.
Facebook is Terence Dawkins, or it's Missing Pieces Counseling Services. On Instagram is Terence Dawkins _LISWCP, or Missing Pieces Counseling. And then also I just today. Today, this morning. Made a TikTok. My own personal TikTok is at Terence Dawkins.
Love it. Make sure that you connect with Terence. I'm sure it will be a world of a difference to help you or someone that you may know. So make sure that you share this podcast or the video with people that you care about, and help somebody else out. That's what it's all about, is looking out for your people or for those that you know of that may be needing some assistance with something. Again, thank you for watching. We hope that you were able to take something from this. If you get overwhelmed, I say it time and time again, just pause it and come back. Progress is always key. Make sure that you process as well what it is that you're taking in. Again, we don't want you to be overwhelmed, but we do want you to grow, and that can be uncomfortable at times. So we hope that you were able to receive this well. If you weren't able to receive this well, then this will always be here for you to come back to another day, for you to try again. And we hope that you enjoyed this show today. Make sure that you subscribe, follow. We are, all over on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. We might do TikTok eventually. We're gonna see. I don't know. Adventure. I might set up the TikTok.
Again, I just set it up. So
Yeah.
it's more of like
Today.
this is a new thing I want to try out and see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, look out for that. Make sure you connect with Terrence. Make sure that you also go to the Black and Healthy website, www.blackandhealthy.com. And if you would like to sponsor the Black and Healthy podcast, make sure you email me at blackandhealthy@gmail.com. And we will see you later. Thanks again for being here. Have a good day.